Good morning, everyone. I'm out here working today, and I just thought I'd take a few minutes and put a few words out there about this sexual harassment thing that's sweeping the nation. A lot of male executives have been fired, and I don't necessarily think that that's correct, that should have happened. And there's a lot of political leaders, both Democrat and Republican, that are under attack. And maybe now there's more Republicans than Democrats, but definitely it's going to hit the Democrats as well as the Republicans. I mean, let's face it, Bill Clinton was a Democrat, and there's all sorts of sexual things that went on there, as well as John Kennedy. Of course, that's quite a ways in the past, but you take the Republican that was running in Alabama, Moore. What happened was, all that stuff was, a lot of it was like 30 years in the past, and that should not happen. So what we really need is we need some laws being passed to keep these women from trying to use this stuff that's 30 and 40, 50 years old, and even like 1 or 2 years old, to gain their 15 minutes of fame. And that's exactly what a lot of them are trying to do, is gain 15 minutes of fame. If they gain enough fame and notoriety from doing this, then they could wind up with a book deal like Monica Lewinsky and make $1 million or so. And that's absolutely not correct. So I think it behooves the political establishment of the United States and also of the states to preclude this from having an effect in elections years to come, to do something about this. And I would suggest that President Trump, who many women have made accusations against him right now, I would suggest that in order for him to put an end to this stuff and to stop all this sexual harassment, I call it bullshit, which is exactly what it is, from happening, I would suggest that President Trump do a well-crafted executive order regarding this sexual harassment stuff. It would not only benefit him, but it would benefit Democrats and all Republicans as well. And also it would benefit the states and would benefit business and the news media and everyone. Let's face it, any corporation or any news outlet, they have other things to worry about than this sexual harassment stuff, and it's really causing a lot of problems in the country and really needs to be dealt with in a decisive manner. So, like I said, I suggest a well-crafted presidential executive order, and that would prevent this sexual harassment stuff from being brought up years after the fact, or 6 months after the fact, or 3 months after the fact. I mean, in my opinion, a woman should have 5 days to report this and to document it, and to document it as thoroughly and as as thoroughly as she can, and 5 days to bring it to the attention of the news media and the courts and whoever else. If she don't do that within 5 days and start court action within 5 days, then her rights to do anything in the future should be, she should have no right. I mean, it should be done away with completely. Like I mentioned before in one other previous video that I did regarding this, this does not happen in a Muslim country. Now, in a Muslim country, if these women were to bring up charges of sexual harassment against a man, they would be the ones who would be put in jail for this stuff, because first of all, they made themselves available for this harassment to occur, and by their dress and demeanor, by their actions, they caused this sexual harassment, certainly to an extent, just by being there. So it's a kind of a religious thing. I realize the Muslim religion is a lot more stricter regarding sexual morality than the Christian religion is, but what we need to understand is that women will entice men, and just by their very existence, women cause men to be attracted to them, and certainly by their dress and their actions and their talk and their demeanor, if you will. So women have to deal with that, but men also have to deal with the fact that women also sexually harass them by their talk and by the way they dress, and also through rejection. Men are rejected by women every day, and it hurts men deeply when they are rejected by women, and some men wind up killing themselves as a result of this direction, of this rejection, especially a lot of young men, and even older men too. So it's not only one-sided. It's not only sexual harassment from the male toward the female. It's also sexual harassment of the female toward the male. So we need to understand that it goes both ways, and we definitely, for the benefit of the United States, for the benefit of our country, our corporations, our government, our political institutions, and our leaders, we need to do something about this. We need to put this issue to bed, if you will. So I would say a well-crafted presidential executive order on sexual harassment needs to be done. And such things should be in there that immediate rape kit needs to be done if a woman is raped. A woman has 5 days to report and document fully sexual harassment, and to take legal action. Otherwise, her rights to do this do not exist. And certainly they don't exist 30 years after the fact, or 1 year after the fact, or 6 months after the fact. Immediate action needs to be done. President Bush, almost 90 years old, or very close to it, was accused of inappropriately touching a woman's behind. This is out of hand. It's out of control. And something definitely needs to be done to get rid of this issue, put it behind us, and let us move on down the road as a country and as a part of Western civilization and as a part of human civilization. Other countries in the world are looking at us. Muslim countries are looking at us and shaking our heads and saying, we told you so, about men and women. And this is actually hurting women in the Muslim world, because they are trying to get more rights. They're trying to get the right to drive, the right to vote, the right to do a lot of things that Western women have and take for granted. And what's happening in our country with this sexual harassment stuff, that's telling the people in the Muslim world, look, this is what happens when you let these women have all these rights. So Western civilization, American women, you're doing a big injustice to women of the world, not only to women of this country, but to women of the world. So you trying to get your 15 minutes of fame, or trying to topple some icon or political leader because they touched your ass inappropriately, or maybe you thought that they said something inappropriately to you 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago. I mean, it's just crazy. You need to wake up. The country needs to wake up, and I highly suggest and would recommend that the president put out an executive order regarding sexual harassment, stating that it is detrimental to our country and to Western civilization, to our political institutions, to our corporations, and as a result, rules in that executive order needs to be explicit. For example, immediate rape test needs to be done. 5 days to report, document, and file legal actions. After that, there is no right whatsoever to report this or to cause actions to be taken from any political actions against any icon or political leader or corporate leader or whatever. So that definitely needs to be done. We need to get past this, and that is one way that I see that it needs to be done. Also, a lot of these men that have been fired, they need to take this to the court, and they need to file damages against corporations and the news outlets and so forth that have let them go and caused them to be terminated. And they need to take legal action, because this is wrong. These women are trying to get their 15 minutes of fame, causing the country, causing corporations, political organizations, and the civilization in general. They're causing lots of problems, and this need not to be happening, and it needs to be taken care of and dealt with. So I suggest a presidential executive order on sexual harassment. I think it needs to be done, and it needs to be done fairly expeditiously to get this thing behind us, so we can get on down the road and do a lot of other things that need to be done. Thank you. You folks have a nice day, and please subscribe.